Good Tuesday morning to everybody. I'm here with a little bit of a reading. So somebody had asked me to look into Plandemic X or, Disease X or the next planned thing that comes down the pike from the deep state. The talk about how they want to bombard us with another plandemic here, especially being that it's an election year. We know how they pulled that out in the election year of 2020. So they wanted a story around that. They just wanted to check in with that. So what I did, you guys, was I had the conversation with my highest self source and my team and talked about all of this and wanted to get a true story on whether this is something that's going to come about or not. So first and foremost, the healing intentions are set for all of you folks. So if you want them, go ahead and choose to stand in your power, you guys, and decree it for your highest and greatest good only and always. So this is the first piece of our layout here. And I asked for a true story around this Plandemic X. And so I'm sorry about the glare, you guys, but it's morning time and it does that. It's not quite light yet. It's lightening up, but I still have to have lights on to see. So anyway, what we're getting here, see if I can do this. Move it back a little bit. There we go. So we've got the chariot that's driving this reading. So the energy, the pathway driving this reading is moving forward. This has to be walked away from and, happily ended. So that's the forward motion of this pandemic. It doesn't look as though it's going to be able to get anywhere. So the story, what about this pandemic, looks as though it's been healed. So they're giving us the Empress, which heals things. So give us a story around this pandemic. Looks as though this situation has undergone a healing. It's been transformed. Some sort of miracle took place, right, with the star and transforms things. So we've got these two higher arcana cards, one right atop the other, saying that there's transformation and healing taking place as far as this pandemic goes, right? We come across from the Empress, and then we've got we've got the Sun card, which really can represent, celebrations, right? So we're celebrating. This is something triumphant. This is something abundantly great. It's a joyful card. And so we've got this great healing that's taking place. So celebrations, a lot of hard, steady work going into this. So lots of work, steady and true, wins the race, right? To end this pandemic and transform it. Be joyful, because this is going to be walked away from and healed. Moving forward, we're gonna walk away from this. This is going to come to end. So I asked if I had read this right, and I got the Fool, which says that I did. So according to this reading, what I'm getting is that this is not going to happen. So I wanted a little bit of a story around this. Why isn't this going to happen, right? Why isn't it? I wanted that story. So I came over here, and we've got our swords, and swords is information, it's words, it's thought, it's also technology. Well, when you think of the pandemic, it's a narrative, right? And it's them dumping technology, things that they've created in biolabs on top of us, right? So it's showing us straight up that there's been a binding that has taken place with this ability to get the narrative out, could be getting the narrative out, the ability to create the disease, the ability to get people to buy that's what, to buy what they're selling. So just, people not wanting to listen to it, not falling for it, whatever the deal is, this has been like, it's going through a binding process. Now we've got the Emperor, which for me is the twin flame to the Empress, right? And represents great healing. So there's a binding going on and a healing process taking place here in this journey around this entire battle that we've been dealing with these viruses and these pandemics and the bullshit and and the shots and all of the crap that they push home with these pandemics, right? So that would include your mask, masking, getting shot up, being locked down, kept away from your work, people getting sick, going into the hospitals, getting ill treatment for things. So it looks as though things are being bound and there's a healing taking place as far as this entire pandemic battle goes, and that it's going to be a good ending, good outcome for humanity, for all of humanity, right? So I'm like, okay, so it's showing me twice that there's a healing taking place as far as this pandemic goes. And so I'm thinking about this, and I'm like, well, is this, okay, we have Marjorie Taylor Greene, and she's doing the hearings now on the COVID vaccines. Finally, this is like sort of mainstream. I realize she's a conservative, and a lot of people that are very liberal-minded might not be paying any attention to her, but goodness, I hope that they are as far as these shots go. But just there's a lot more awareness now, right? And so I wanted to know if these are the reasons, like the awareness and the people talking and all of us talking and conversing and what we're saying here across the internet and what we're talking about with our families via text messages, all of the truthers that are out there talking about this stuff, warning about this stuff, if all of that has had anything to do with their inability to push this agenda through. And so what I got here was that all of these dark agendas, yeah, they're being talked about. It's like you've got these little warriors out there spreading the news about these dark agendas, and, to each person individually. So it looks like we're all playing a nice role in this. Lots of talk going on. So we've got all of these dark agendas, and we've got like warrior spirits spreading the news to all sorts of people individually. So individual people are picking up on things that they may not have heard about before. And a huge light is being shown on this. So that's the shine the light on the darkness, and then the darkness can't, really do what it's planned because they're successful. As we talked about yesterday, they're always successful when they're hidden, right? That's how they've been able to be so successful, is that people haven't seen, they haven't known, they didn't know. These agendas were hidden, and then they could just spring them on you. And so many people know now, and it's being talked about. It's being spread far and wide with like warrior energy, shining a light on these things. So that's what's helping to bind this and, heal the situation. So that's what I'm getting anyways, you guys. And then I asked if I got that right, and I got the Magician. So as far as so that means, yes, that's my Higher Arcana card that says you've mastered it, right? So yeah, I got the information the way it was intended. Yeah, so very interesting. And then I asked, is there anything that you want to leave us with today? Something that, you think we can benefit from hearing. And interestingly enough, you guys, I got the 5 of Rods. And that's chaos and infighting and it's just like crazy times, right? And that's what they wanted to leave us with. They wanted us to know we are in the midst of this type of chaos. And I felt like there was more to that. So I pulled another card and I got the Wheel of Fortune. So what they're basically saying here, you guys, is that this is karmic, that we live through this chaos. This is probably more than likely something that just kind of has to happen in our growth for us to grow. We have to go through certain things really to grow. And so this is a very karmic time, and it's chaotic. And they want us to keep that in mind, right? So that's the reading for today. That's what I'm getting anyways. Take with it. Take what resonates. Throw out the rest. This is just what I'm getting. But I remember last fall when everybody wanted me to check in on, they would push in the next COVID variant, and there was all this stuff saying they were going to close us down, shut us down again, all that stuff. And they wanted me to check in on it. And I had gotten in that one too, that plan had to be walked away from. And I remember as we went into that reading a little bit, we talked about our sovereignty and just the power that we hold by saying, nope, I don't agree to that. I do not consent. And so, let's all just stand in our power, you guys, and say, absolutely not. We don't consent to this shit. We absolutely do not consent to any more of this crap, and we do not consent specifically to any pandemic that they might have, that they want to throw at us down the pike at any time in our lives. We don't consent. No. How about no? We've put a lot of thought into this, right? No. No, we don't consent. So that's the reading for today. I hope that you found some value in it. Yesterday I did the reading on 3D, 4D, 5D, and someone had said that I made it sound so easy and that most people had a lot of trauma that they had endured from childhood right up throughout their lives. And believe me when I say, it's not easy. I've done this work. I've done my shadow work. I've done my emotional healing. I do this. And no, it's not easy. There's nothing easy about it. But I will tell you this, anything worth anything is worth the work, and we have to do the work. Regardless of it, we can use our trauma as an excuse to not do the work, or we can use it as a motivator because we want to feel better. We want to grow our emotional body so that we're not always being triggered from a place of the wounded ego and the traumatized child. So it's hard work, and healing is not easy. There's days where you'll spend your day crying in your pillow, or you got to go out for a walk in the woods and you've got to just scream for a minute and release, because healing, there's nothing easy about healing, but it's absolutely worth it. And as you say, a lot of people, I would be willing to bet everybody has trauma that they're either holding on to, swallowing down, tucking under the bed, because they've been taught to just dig their feet in, hold their back straight, chin up, and persevere through it. Don't talk about it. Don't complain about it. Suppress it. We've been taught in this world, here in America especially, suppress everything. So I don't think it's just a lot of people. I think it's everybody has trauma, and everybody's degree of trauma, what they've experienced, it may be different. What one person might not consider traumatic in their life, another person could be incredibly traumatized by it. So it really has to do with our personality, how our brains work, all of that. Trauma is real. It is real. And yes, I get it, from childhood up through. And the reason why that is, you guys, is because when we grow up in a situation where we're being abused, and it doesn't even have to be from your parents, right? I'm not saying everybody's parents are rotten, but I know a lot of people personally where the abuse didn't take place directly in their home. Their parents were great and their siblings were great. But outside of the home, they had an uncle, or they had a coach, or there was an older child down the road, and they were enduring horrific abuse throughout their childhood. And what that does, no matter where it's coming from, is it really messes with a kid's self-esteem. And we learn to not trust that we're safe in the world. And as children, we're very vulnerable. So, it's no wonder the ego wants to tell you you're not safe. That's why there's a lot of benefit in working on that root chakra and clearing that root chakra where we find our passion for life in the world and where we feel as though we're safe, right? because as adults, we're actually in control of driving the car. Nobody else is driving it for us at this point. We're adults. So working on clearing that root chakra is very beneficial, you guys. So many of us hold extreme trauma in that root, right? And that's why you start at the root and you work up, because we hold a lot there in that root. But what it does is it creates an energy around us. When we're children, we begin to feel unsafe. We lose our self-esteem. We wonder, we're told consistently by the abusers that we're not worthy somehow, right? Or that we don't deserve, or that we're less than, or whatever the story is. But then we hold that energy and we kind of attract that to us. So then we end up with a wife or a husband or a girlfriend or a boyfriend or whatever that's just going to pick up on the fact that you're probably going to make a good victim for them. People that like to victimize, it's like they can smell you miles and miles away. I mean, narcissistic personalities, man, they are good at what they do. And they literally, I always say, they can smell us miles away. They can see you coming, right? So we get that energy brought to us, and then we endure more abuse. And it kind of just escalates, right? Until we start doing our work and finding our self-worth and our self-value and clearing that old pain and clearing that trauma and stepping out of the victim mentality and into that self-empowered, I am worthy and life is happening with me. And I have learned from these experiences that, I am not going to allow this type of stuff into my life. But it does take work, you guys. It does. And it is not easy. And I didn't mean to make it sound as though it is. But, in a 27-minute video, when you're doing a reading, you're not touching upon all of that stuff. But it's worth the work. And then, a lot of children have been abused. So you're probably addressing the fact that children don't know what it is to be happy. And that can happen. You can get children that are very, very unhappy because of the abuse that they've endured. But before their spirits were completely broken, there was always a place that they could go to that made them happy. So here's a for instance, you guys. So children are they're pure and they're great at being present in the moment. So let's say you just got your ass kicked at home and you're heartbroken, you're physically hurt, you're mentally hurt, you're emotionally hurt. And, you sneak out of the house to go out to the woods to get away from the place that wasn't safe for you and that hurt you, right? And on your way to the woods, you see a butterfly. And you stop and you look at that in awe. And you're present in that moment. And then maybe, you make your way through a field before you get to the woods where you're going to be. And maybe a happy little puppy runs up to you and jumps on you and is licking you. And you start giggling. Because you're present in that moment. And you found joy in that moment, even though you were hurting when you left the house. And that's what I mean by finding your happy place. Because before we were shattered to the point where our egos told us there was nothing to be happy about, we had time when we were able still to be totally present in the moment and feel the experience. So just like in Peter Pan, find your happy place. For me, it didn't matter what had gone on in my life. My happy place was always something to do with animals. So I could go off to the woods, and if I was, watching a squirrel, I would feel happy. Or, if I was helping my dad in the chicken houses, picking up every chicken and hugging on it, I was feeling joy around that. And those are things that you take yourself back to. Take yourself back to those joyful moments, those things that made you feel good. And you fill yourself with that feeling, and then you do your positive affirmations, and you do your manifesting, and you do your visualization with those feelings in you so that you can be in alignment with what it is that you want to pull into you as you manifest, right? So before every child is shattered, before the shattering happens, they do have the ability to stay present and feel. And then it's, and then depending on the level of abuse, that's often taken away from the child, I realize. And the ego will consistently tell us there's nothing to feel happy about after a shattering point. But this is still all stuff that can be healed. And no, it's not fun, but it's worth the work. And no one can do it for us but us. So we have to, if we can dig our heels in after being traumatized and go out into the world and work and do things to be productive when our souls are shrieking in pain, then we can dig our heels in and do our emotional healing, our spiritual healing, our physical healing, and our mind-body healing. We have that ability. We can do it. It's not easy, but it's worth it. It's worth the work. So there's that happy place. And yes, I understand that there's a lot of trauma, and yes, the healing can take place. And then the other thing I think that you said was you had looked for God your whole life, right? And always believed, but looked for God and couldn't find it. And, that's why you look for God within you. Go into your heart. Just go into your heart. Go into your heart and start feeling who you are. Because, like, when I look into a baby's face and a baby's eyes, I see God everywhere. When I see the flowers blooming, to me, that's God. When I see the trees leafing out, to me, that's God. A snowstorm, to me, that's God. I see God everywhere, all around me and within me. And just start talking to God. Just start talking. Don't ask for anything. Just start talking. Start talking, like every day. Okay, God, I'm doing the dishes. I'm doing this. Whatever the conversation. The more you talk, the more that line opens up. And start really looking around, because remember, source, God, is creation. And creation is all around you. And it's only your broken heart that's having the disconnect. Your heart is broken, which is why it's so good to do that healing work, even though it's hard, you guys. It's the broken heart and it's the shattered ego that stops us from seeing God all around us, that stops us from feeling God inside of us, which is why it's so important, again, if we want to really live a happy and fulfilled life, for us to do our own work. But it's up to us, And if you're not ready right now, you're not ready. You're not ready. And maybe you never will be. And it's okay. There's no right or wrong way to do this life, honestly. We're here doing it. So whatever is. Don't judge yourself. Don't judge yourself. Just move forward doing whatever feels right to you. So anyway, again, I hope that you found some value in this video. I did say I'd address your key points yesterday. Know that I'm wishing you tons and tons of love and lots and lots of healing. Trauma's terrible. I get it. I too have had a shitload of trauma in my life. So I get it. And it's not easy. I get it. And, know that my heart is with you. So anyways, to everyone else, lots and lots of love, many, many blessings, sending you the best of wishes and intentions. Until next time, guys, this is what I'm getting, at least. So yeah, take what you want of it and leave the rest. But remember, always stand in your power. Stand in your power. Don't agree to it. Don't agree to anything they might be throwing down the pike at us. I don't. I hear all this stuff and I go, oh, no, I don't agree to that. I do not consent. That's what I always say. I don't agree. I don't consent. And that's what I'll keep saying. I do not agree. I do not consent. So with that being said, sending you all tons of love. Have a blessed and joyous day. Take care.